Hello, friends, and welcome to Enjoy English. I am your host, Shane.
大家好，我是 Bernice.
Hi, Bernice.
Hi, Shane.
You're like, I thought you were being like an animal.
No.
You were like this. Oh, okay. I thought you were some strange animal, like, I'm Bernice.
那我们今天真的是要介绍 animal, right?
Yeah. So we're still talking about wild neighbors in the city, and we're not talking about this wild neighbor.
I'm not wild.
You're not
I'm
wild?
very quiet.
You're very quiet and peaceful? Okay, so maybe I'm a more wild one. No, I'm also pretty peaceful too.
Okay.
But there are some wild neighbors in the city, but by wild here, we don't mean crazy.
No,
We just mean that they are not domesticated.
Yes.
And when we say domesticated, these are animals that are in people's homes or attached to people's homes, like cows and horses in the home, like a dog or a cat or a bird. They are out in the wild.
没错。
Right? So we're talking about one called a masked palm civet. And we're wondering here in our subtitle, is this a giant rat? Is it a cat? It's a raccoon. We learned that it looks a little bit like a mix somewhere between a cat and a raccoon.
没错。
And it's making its way into the city.
对啦，所以我们今天呢讲的这个都市里的野邻居啦，就像老师讲的，并不是讲说它很疯狂，不是这个意思，是因为呢，它不是我们在家里面所养的这些宠物，猫猫狗狗啊这些东西啦哈，所以呢，它呢，就是我们大家觉得说它到底是一个很大的老鼠，还是猫咪呢，还是浣熊呢，还是我们刚刚讲 somewhere between 呢？它可能大约长得都很像这些动物，其实呢，它是叫这个白鼻星。那我们知道它为什么用 mask 的，因为它脸上有这些 markings， 对不对？然后 palm 因为它住在那个树里面嘛，哈。然后 civet 就是长得就是 cat-like animal， 长得像猫一样的这个动物，所以才叫白鼻星。
Okay, so let's find out why they're in the city a little bit more in day 2.
All right.
Wild neighbors in the city. While masked palm civets can be found in several Southeast Asian countries, they remain at risk of extinction in some regions, including Taiwan. As with many other species facing serious population decline, several factors contribute to the threats they encounter. The first major threat is habitat loss. The continual expansion of human settlements, farming, and industrial development often comes at the expense of natural ecosystems. While masked palm civets have shown some adaptability, surviving in urban areas such as Singapore, their presence reflects necessity rather than choice. The second threat is hunting. In some parts of China and Vietnam, masked palm civets are hunted for their meat, which is served in certain restaurants. They are also frequent victims of illegal animal trafficking and poaching. Lastly, a study in Taiwan revealed that as their natural habitats shrink, they face increasing dangers, such as attacks by dogs, car accidents, or being separated from their parents due to human activity. Together, these pressures have put masked palm civets in a risky position. To ensure their survival, we need to take stronger steps to help conserve the species. These include protecting remaining habitats, fighting illegal wildlife trade, and educating the public about the important role that masked palm civets play in nature.
Okay, so let's get into the reading. All right, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Let's do this. While masked palm civets can be found in several Southeast Asian countries, they remain at risk of extinction in some regions, including Taiwan. So they are at risk of extinction. Now, we know that when something goes extinct, that means that that species, that type of animal ceases or stops to exist because there are no more left. So they are at risk of extinction in many places. And one of those places, like we asked before, can we find them in Taiwan? Not really. Maybe in a zoo somewhere.
Yeah, maybe.
But they're pretty much almost...
Or in the high mountains. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there might be a few in the wild, but they're basically almost extinct, which is pretty sad.
对，所以呢，如果有这个各位读者或同学呢，有看过的话，你也可以在下面留言。哦，我曾经在哪里有看过这样的一种动物啊？所以他这边就讲了，虽然呢，我们知道这个白鼻星呢，在大部分的东南亚的国家，好，它是遍布在这边，所以你都可以找得到。可是呢，他们依旧呢是 at risk of， 就是在一种危险，面临什么样的一个风险、危险之中，就是刚才老师讲的 extinction， 那个 ex 就是有 out 的意思，所以就说，他们已经快要面临这个绝迹了哈，就是可能灭绝的这样的一个风险了，在某一些的地区。那他举例的其中一个地方就是我们台湾啦。
As with many other species facing serious population decline, several factors contribute to the threats they encounter. Okay, so species are types of animals. So when we refer to a species, like our species is Homo sapiens. We have a species, and it's a scientific term so that we can name an animal according to science, to not just, you know, have the regular name that we say, like cat.
对，我们讲的是物种的名称，就像我们是灵长类动物这样。
Right. And so there are many species that are facing serious population decline. So decline just means to go down.
Yes.
Right? So that means that their population, if it's declining, it means that their population is becoming less and less.
Yes.
And there's several factors that contribute to. So if there's something contributes to something, that means that is helping it. It is causing it. Right? So there are things that are causing these threats that they are encountering. There's several factors.
没错。
Several things, several factors that are basically causing or making this come about.
没错。好，所以呢，这个 as 表示就如同啦，就如同呢，跟其他的一些物种好是一样的。我们同时呢，都是面临到一些所谓那 facing 加 ing 前面有一个 with 嘛，哈，介系词面临到这个很严重的这样的一个数量上面的这个下降。好，所以它跟其他这些数量上面下降的物种呢是一样啊，它们都面临这样的一个状况。就是呢，那为什么会这样子数量会下降，接近到我们刚才要讲的要到灭绝的风险呢？就是以下呢有好几个因素，所以呢 contribute to 就是有促成啦或导致啦。那你也可以用刚才老师讲的用 cause 这个字，或者你也可以用片语 give rise to R-I-S-E、都可以。这样子的一种威胁，什么样的威胁呢？就是他们这些动物目前所面临到的威胁。
Right. Okay, let's take a short break and we'll be right back.
好的。
Okay, so what kind of threats are there?
Okay.
Let's find out.
All
Okay.
right.
The first major threat is habitat, not habitat, habitat loss. Okay, so habitat loss just means when your habitat is basically the area in which you live.
Yes.
Is your habitat. And especially when we're talking about animals, we talk about the area in which they live is their habitat. And that is being lost, right? So it's habitat loss, it's going away, right? So that's one of the threats, is pretty much that's because humans are starting to go into their habitats.
没错啦。所以第一个呢，最主要的最首要的威胁呢，就是这些动物呢，它们的栖息地的丧失。那刚刚老师讲的 habitat 这个字意思就是他们住的地方，就是这些 animal community 动物社区，就是被我们人类呢，因为我们不断的扩张，所以就占用到他们的地方。
Exactly. So like it says next, the continual expansion of human settlements, farming, and industrial development often comes at the expense of natural ecosystems, right? So when we're talking about this expansion and it's continual, that means it keeps happening. It's not stopping. It just keeps going. The expansion of human settlements, like where we live, apartments, houses, making new farming lands, talking about farming, industrial development, like maybe we want to try to find more minerals or something, so we're digging up the ground and cutting down trees to do it. It comes at the expense of, if you do something at the expense of something, that means you do it to the negative effect of that thing. So it will have some kind of negative impact or a negative effect on that thing. So if I do something at your expense, then basically that means you have to pay for it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You have to pay for it, and it's basically going to be something negative for you.
没错，所以刚刚老师在解释这个 at the expense of 这样的一个片语呢，就是以什么作为牺牲或代价。那刚刚老师讲它是 negative， 它比较负面的一种意思，就是你必须要为这个付出代价哦，因为你要什么东西，所以你必须要付出这样的代价。所以这个句子呢，就是说这样子的，我们人类不断的continual， 我们知道 continual 这个字呢，就是一直不断都有，好，就一直出现，频繁的出现的这样的一种扩增。好，那我们为什么人类要不断的这样子去扩大呢？就是因为呢，我们的 human settlements， 因为我们要住，我们的房子越来越多啊。我们要盖很多房子啊。
To settle somewhere, to settle down means to live, right? So settlements are places that we live.
对啊，我们要很多住的地方，然后我们要吃东西啊，所以要有农业啊，然后我们要有很多的工业、很多的工厂啊，这些东西。对，所以 industrial development， 所以这些东西一直不断、陆陆续续的这样子的，一直不断的扩大。那通常呢？comes 来，你就会以什么作为代价呢？你必须就要用什么东西作为代价呢 ？Natural ecosystems， 因为我们就要占用别人的地方嘛，所以这时候你就对于自然生态来牺牲了。
Okay. While mast palm civets have shown some adaptability, surviving in urban areas such as Singapore, their presence reflects necessity rather than choice. Okay, so they are able to adapt. They've shown that they're able to adapt, to get used to this. And they're saying, especially in some places like in urban areas such as Singapore. So if we go to Singapore, we might see some of them in kind of in cities. We'll say in the wild. But just since they're wild animals, we'd be able to see them in some city areas, probably. And it's interesting to say their presence reflects necessity rather than choice. In other words, the reason why they're here is because it is necessary for them to do that. Not because they're choosing, the city looks cool. I want to go where all the fashion is and all these cool buildings. No, they're kind of forced to get used to it.
没错了，他们是被迫不得不在我们这样的一个都市的环境底下生存下来。他们并不是因为哇这边有美女帅哥，还是有好吃的食物，对不对？所以我要来。对，我并不是因为这些所谓的奢侈品而来的，是我没办法不得不来，因为你们都扩展到我这里来了，所以我只好住到你那边去了。 OK， 所以它这个句子就是说，虽然这个 while 就是 although 的意思，虽然呢，我们知道这个白鼻星呢，其实他们呢已经的在这个表现出啊，我其实要开始去做这个适应了，他们有这样的一个适应能力是有的。可是呢，他们之所以有这个适应能力，就是说哦，什么样的适应能力呢？是要 surviving in urban areas， 就是要跟人类一样，好，我们要为了在这种都市区域里面可以存活下来。例如说，他就举例像新加坡这个地方，可是其实呢，他们之所以这样子出现，他们的出现的这个方法呢，在这个地方是 reflect， 叫表达或反映出来。它表达的其实是一种 necessity， 就是我必须要出现在这里啊，因为你们踏到我家来了，所以我变成我要跟你共存了嘛，对不对？我要跟你存在在一起了，而不是 choice， 不是说我选择想要跟你一起住。
That's right. Okay, let's take a short break. Be right back.
好的。
Okay, we mentioned that we have several threats, right? So threat 1 is habitat loss.
Yes.
What's threat 2? The second threat is hunting. Pap, 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 pap. No. Not good. So when you hunt an animal, basically you go after it to kill it.
Yes.
Right? So these animals are being killed by hunters. And so when we're talking about hunting, we're not talking about their natural predators. Maybe in nature, they might have some natural predators, other animals. When we're talking about them getting hunted and we're talking about hunting, we're talking about humans doing the hunting.
Yes.
Right.
对，所以第二个威胁呢，当然就是人类的这个捕杀他们啦。就像刚才Shane老师讲的，并不是说他们在他们自然的栖息地遇到了，比如说可能狮子、老虎这些 predators 去把它们吃掉，并不是，而是我们人类想要吃它们。我们没有东西可以吃了吗？明明就有这么多东西可以吃，为什么还要去吃这种快要灭绝的动物呢？好啦，反正就是总而言之，就是我们人类又是很坏的人啊，我们就要把它们猎杀，要把它们吃掉。好。
Okay. In some parts of China and Vietnam, masked palm civets are hunted for their meat, which is served in certain restaurants. Yeah, I don't think I would want to try. Well, I'm a vegetarian, so my hands are clean. No blood on my hands at all. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too judgmental. But eating civet meat, come on. Is it really necessary?
对呀，我就说有这么多东西可以吃，为什么一定要吃这么可爱的动物呢？
But it is being served in restaurants in China and Vietnam, for example. Right? So, I mean, I guess it might be a specialty, or it could be a local specialty somewhere where where there might be a higher population of them, so they can hunt them easily and then put them on their menus as kind of like, oh, this is our local delicacy.
啊，当地美食。
That's right.
好的，所以呢，这边接下来就讲啦，在这个中国呢以及越南的某些地方呢，这一些所谓的白鼻星啊，就被他们这个捕杀啦。那就是为了吃它的肉啦啊，那 which 就指的这个 meat 哈，所以呢就把他们的肉呢放在某一些的这个餐厅里面，然后 serve 的被这个提供给这些饕客来吃啦。那就像老师刚才讲，它可能就是当地美食或者特产吧。
Okay. They are also frequent victims of illegal animal trafficking and poaching. So they're also frequent victims. So if you're a victim, I mean, in Chinese, I know this, 受害者.
对。
Right? So basically, a victim is somebody who gets harmed by somebody else, right? And they're victims of illegal animal trafficking and poaching. So they're trading them and they're killing them. They're doing all kinds of things to these animals. But it's illegal. That's the point, that they're not allowed to do this. But they are frequent victims of this.
对啦，所以呢，这个白鼻星本来呢就是已经快要灭绝的这样的一个物种了。可是人类呢，还是为了享受口腹之欲 啊，所以呢，我们人类呢，就是把它们捕杀之后呢，然后 they are also 这些白鼻星也同时经常的就成为一些非法的这些动物的运送啊。我们知道这个 trafficking 就是这样的非法买卖啦，
gonna go sell them
对，把它
illegally
卖掉，
yeah.
但是非法的，好，这样的 victims，他们就是这些牺牲者、受害者，以及呢。poach 的意思就是任意的去这个捕杀他们，好，所以呢，盗猎这些动物，所以这个白鼻星就成为他们的受害者了。
超级可怜的，
很可怜。
Okay, let's take a break.
好。
Okay, so what else? Let's find out.
Okay.
Lastly, a study in Taiwan revealed that as their natural habitats shrink, they face increasing dangers such as attacks by dogs, car accidents, or being separated from their parents due to human activity. That's really sad. Yeah, so this was a study that was done in Taiwan, kind of probably trying to figure out what is happening to these precious animals.
没错。
What is going on, but there's things that we might not have thought about yet, like getting attacked by dogs, right? Car accidents, getting hit by cars, because they don't really understand, like, domesticated cats that live with humans, living out in the streets. They're used to scooters and cars, and they've learned to adapt themselves. So they see a car coming, they know, get out of the way. But these animals, they're not used to it, so they just see some lights. Maybe they just take a look. Whoa, what are those interesting lights coming at me? Bap, you know? And so terrible.
Yeah, 因为呢，毕竟这个白鼻星它毕竟还是 wild animals， 虽然它有适应，它也在尝试要去适应这个都市生活，可它当然不能像我们家里面养的狗狗跟猫猫啦，它们可能已经很习惯叭叭的声音啊，然后灯亮了就赶快要闪啊，或听到什么声音，它又赶快躲起来，对不对？那他们这个白鼻星呢，还没有这么样的对这些东西很敏锐，
没有进化。
对，所以呢 ，lastly， 最后我们要讲的就是台湾有一个研究呢。他就这样子 revealed， 他就这样子揭露了。他揭露这个什么样的一个事情呢？他说 as 这边表示随着这些白鼻星呢，它们自然的这个 habitat shrink， 就是变得越来越小，不断的在缩小之中呢，其实白鼻星呢，它们也面临了一些逐渐增加的一些危险。这些危险来自于，比如说第一个。你家里有养狗狗的，它可能要经过的时候，狗狗就会去攻击它啦，对不对？然后呢，也会有车子要去撞到它啦，又或者他们就被迫呢要分离了 ，be separated from， 跟谁分离呢？他们自己的父母亲，就是因为我们这些人类的活动。
Okay. Together, these pressures have put masked palm civets in a risky position. To ensure their survival, we need to take stronger steps to help conserve the species. So they're in a risky position, which is basically getting on the level of extinction, right? This is the kind of position that they're in now. Now, to ensure just means to make sure.
Yeah.
Right? To be sure of something is to ensure.
Yes.
Their survival, we need to make or take stronger steps to help conserve the species. Now, when we conserve something, we help to keep it from going extinct.
没错，所以刚刚老师解释这个 conserve 这个意思呢，就是要保育它的意思，就是怕它会绝迹嘛，灭绝的这样子哈。所以 together 就是把刚才的这些东西全部加起来，好 these pressures 刚才讲的，不管是汽车、狗狗啦，或者它们的栖息地变小，这些 pressure 整个加在一起呢，所以已经让这个所谓的白鼻星呢，处于一个 risky position， 就是相当危险的这样的一个处境啦。所以为了呢，能够确保它们可以持续的生存下去呢，我们人类呢，其实应该要采取的是更有力的一些 steps， 这些 steps 就是 measures， 一些措施，我们要采取更加 stronger， 甚至更加 urgent 或更加 necessary 的一些 steps， 来帮助呢，可以好好的保育这个物种。
Right. These include protecting remaining habitats, fighting illegal wildlife trade, and educating the public about the important role that masked palm civets play in nature. Right? So it's kind of really about education.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And learning, telling people to protect what habitats we have. This is also educating people, right?
Yes.
So I think really what it is at the bottom is educating people that there is this extinction that's happening of these masked palm civets, and that we need to not only masked palm civets, but
not
other
only.
wildlife too, and
Yes.
we need to be more careful.
没错，所以我们人类啊，确实要好好被教育，be educated。OK，、好的，所以呢，这些呢，包含这些就是指刚才的那些 steps 或者是 measures， 这些措施呢，包含有哪一些呢？比如说，我们要懂得怎么样保护 remaining， 就是因为他们的 habitat 已经 shrink 了嘛，所以我们要让它还有剩下的，对不对？那我们要保护着这些所谓剩余的这些动物的栖息地。而且呢，要去打击这些刚才随便的、任意的盗猎、捕杀或买卖他们的这些人 ，illegal 好，这些 wildlife trade 的这些野生动物的贸易，并且最重要的就是教育我们每一个人大众知道呢。白鼻星它在这个所谓的自然界里面 in nature， 它扮演着相当重要的一个角色，所以我们要好好的保护它。那像刚才Shane老师讲，不是只有白鼻星，很多的动物都需要我们人类要出我们自己的一份力，不要只是为了，就像老师刚刚讲的，你为了自己想要满足你的 appetite，OK， 好，然后你就吃它们，你就买卖它们或怎么样的，所以不要做这些事情。
Yeah, don't. Okay, and educate other people not to. So spread the word.
没错
OK
把这个话传下去。
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you learned something, and please help educate the public.
Yes，
Okay, we'll see you next time.
拜。
Bye bye.